real fast. Let's do a tiny bit of kind of sharing a little bit about your experiences being in the bold room yesterday. Love to hear what your thoughts were, what you really enjoyed. I was speaking with somebody this morning. It's, there's a good chance that you're going to, um, some stuff that's said may not resonate really well with you. Maybe it didn't come across right, or it's not applicable to your life right now. However, I can't imagine you leaving that room yesterday without some new thought or some new goal or something that resonated really deeply with you. Does anyone want to share something that affected them yesterday?
Bill, I guess I can share that. Once we did that, like the pub text exercise in the, that was great and all. And like, it's something that's so easy and so simple that you can literally do for any of your contacts.
Yes.
And I literally continued to do that throughout the day yesterday. And I got like 80% responses back from those.
Give me an example of one of the messages you sent out and how it ended up turning out.
I'm driving, so I can't.
Okay, you don't have to read it exactly, but give me a rough idea of what happened. What did you say?
I mean, I picked like my old boss, for example, from the job I just left. Him and I had a great relationship, and I was just like, "Hey, Richard, I've always just been." I said something about you were always such an influence on me, and whatever. And, I'd love to catch up next week to have coffee or lunch. On vacation this weekend, but I'll be back Wednesday. We can grab coffee later next week.
Okay.
And simple as that. And it was kind of how it went for a lot of them. Some people are out of state, so it's not somebody that I can physically meet with. But we're going to get on the phone and actually have a real conversation and catch up like human beings next week.
There you go. I did try. I haven't done this in a long time because a lot of people are seem to be comfortable meeting in person again. But I did this a couple of times right in the big part of the pandemic, if you will. And like we would have a lunch date, right? And I would go get lunch and I'd sit in front of my computer and eat the lunch, and they would go get lunch and they'd sit in front of the computer and eat lunch. And it was almost like we were having lunch together. And it was really kind of, it was cute. Like people appreciated that. There was some uniqueness to it, right? All right, cool. Thanks for sharing. By the way, I love the people that sit in the front row. Good job. Who else? Almost all of you guys were in bold yesterday, which I'm so happy to see. Who else learned something?
Hey, I can share, Bill. There were a couple of things that really resonated with me.
Okay.
One was the life by design, life by default versus life by design, and how the cost of not doing something is actually so much greater than the pain of doing it. Like how making calls make us a little uncomfortable, but what's the cost of not making those calls? And what can we gain from making those calls? So that's so much greater than the little bit of discomfort that we might experience when we're actually doing it. So when you think it all through, it's like the little bit of discomfort is really no big deal compared to what you could lose and what you could gain by not taking that action.
Can I push you a tiny bit on that? Because you shared, you're a good bit beyond where some people are when it comes to that mentality. So I want to go in the weeds for a tiny bit with that. So what does that mean when you say the pain of not doing it exceeds the pain of doing it? What does that mean exactly?
Well, for me, it's like, I still struggle with reaching out to my sphere. I still have that mentality of, even though I know I'm coming from contribution, and if they don't work with me, they might work with a crappy realtor. I know that, but it's still like, gosh, I hate calling people and acting like I feel like I'm bothering them because I just, maybe texted them last month or or called them last month. So it feels like, and these are people I care about, but I don't want to come off as being disingenuous or something, like I'm just trying to get business, right? But if I don't do that, they might go with someone who's not going to help them or have their best interest, somebody with who just wants the commission, or, you know, I might lose out on business that could help me to grow my business and help me to reach my goals and leave the legacy that I want to leave for my family. So is really, you know, calling them really that big of a deal, or sending a text, is it really that big of a deal? They might be happy to hear from me. So it's like,
I mean, I can't, if they're in your database, there should be no reason why they don't enjoy hearing from you, right?
right,
What
right.
would possibly be the reason why they would say, Donna, what
I
she
know, right?
messaging me for? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of a single example of when they might not want to hear from you? Like, that seems crazy.
No, it's that that negative mindset that comes in. But just like Melissa, I did my text yesterday, and I probably sent 12 texts and got 10 replies. So
Wow.
I feel that was really good. One was a potential buyer from an open house that I hadn't heard from in a little while. She hadn't responded to a few previous times that I reached out to her. So I reached out to her just to see how she was doing, make sure everything was okay. And now we have an appointment to talk on Friday. I have someone else from my sphere who I hadn't talked to in a long time. We were supposed to meet for lunch before. I reached out to her and she's like, why don't we do lunch on Friday? So everything that Tammy said was going to happen, happened, because I took the step to actually reach out and send those 10 plus texts.
You know, what just crossed my mind is, did you guys see, were you guys paying attention when she asked the question, how many people got care calls from, you know,
Yes.
people that they were in relationship with or loose relationship with during the entire pandemic?
Yes.
And there was literally probably what, 150 people in the room, and
At least.
maybe 10 raised their hand, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't even see that because I know I didn't get any care calls.
So
I didn't either.
Your insurance agent never called you? Doctor never called you? The person at the restaurant that owns the restaurant that you frequent didn't call?
No calls.
Wait, so if you call your people in that with that type of program, that's, as crazy as it sounds, it's almost like a surprise and delight without even trying.
I was going to say, if someone had called me, I would have been very delighted.
And therefore, you would have thought of them more positively. You would have probably, knowing you, would have gone way out of your way to support them with whatever they needed support with, right?
This is true.
I mean, guys, it's
really common sense.
We don't have to complicate this.
Yeah.
Right? Be a hero, right? Go help some people today. Right? Make people feel good, right? What Tammy said yesterday, people want to feel good and be right. So don't fight them on the phone, certainly, but you're definitely not going to get an appointment. And make them feel good. Give them a compliment. Hey, I love your shirt. Hey, I love your new hairdo. Hey, I love your shoes. Hey, your kid looks so cute in their Halloween costume. Give them a compliment, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. By the way, that was not a typo. I know, like, the entire next, what Lisa and I call a collection, which is like all of the images, you know, the celebration images together. I know Donna's gonna like completely like hog that entire image next week, but like that is true. Like 3 deals on 3 listings taken. Amazing.
Three buyers.
It doesn't matter.
It's a deal.
Hey, but you know what buyers buy?
They buy
Houses.
houses.
And then you got to help them sell eventually, right?
That's it.
And then
That's
they're
the
friendly
plan.
with people who need to buy houses or need to sell houses or want to talk about houses, right? Okay, let's do one more, and then Candace and I are going to do a little alternating on speaking about habits of top producers today. or what top producers tend to do more than other people? Who else wants to share a cool experience from yesterday?
I thought there was one thing that really kind of stuck out to me, besides that, what Donna was talking about, and that whole changing the conversation with the pleasure and the pain. I thought that was a good exercise. I still got to try that on my kids. But I thought when she said we neglect what we can control and focus more on what we can't.
Mhm.
And I thought that was
Yeah,
actually really good, because like the point was we spend so much time trying to reach people we don't know, or how do we, work on people that we have no control over, instead of really focusing on the people and the things that we do.
yeah. Can you think of an example, Ryan? I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Can you think about an example of something that you have focused on previously that in hindsight is actually something you can't control, and it probably created some frustration for you?
Well, I mean, I can just think of something like even as simple as farming, for instance. You can, not that that's not a bad thing to do, but you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out what to say, how to do it, getting everything ready and doing all that. And you really can't control that. I mean, you can control where you send it, but you can't control the outcome. You can't control that. And like, maybe I need to focus more on the people I do know and getting their business, or getting them to refer someone, and the people that I actually have control over, than people that I've never met. I don't know what they're doing or what they're thinking, or they don't know me. So
Well, the more important part is they don't know how awesome you are.
yeah, they have
Right?
no idea.
You're just a
Don't know.
random person to them,
Right.
right?
So yeah,
And
that
you can control, like, what neighborhood you send the piece of mail to. You can control how colorful it is, or how large it is, or what's printed there. But the problem with farming, number one, and I'm not anti-farming, but if you're going to farm, you should have at least 2 years worth of money set aside to farm. This needs to be a consistent commitment, and it probably needs to have some at least one other kind of overlay. So if you send a piece of mail to everyone, you need to door knock it, or you need to host an open house in the neighborhood, or you need to call them. There needs to be another method of communication in addition to the piece of mail. And by the way, again, you have no control over it. Like, if I'm in front of somebody and I say something to them and they come back at me with sort of what sounds like an objection, I can deal with it, right? If they look at the piece of mail and they say, I don't know about this, I'm not there. I can't defend it, or I can't give them more information. It's just whatever they see is their image of me. So in other words, it's very passive, right? And quite honestly, it's one of the most expensive ways to market yourself too, right? And some people are in a position to make those types of investments, and some, quite frankly, are not, right? So I know it feels good. I know it feels like work, but the question is it getting you what you want, right? Ryan, can you think of an example of something that you can control that you have not yet kind of pushed hard on?
Well, yeah, there's a list. But even things like I realize that there's a lot of people, maybe, I've got the database, but there's other people in kind of just thinking about like the social media, like in the LinkedIn or the Facebook, and like I know I got a lot more people on there than I do in my database. And so I can control like reaching out to those people, talking to some of those people that I haven't actually focused on yet, and figuring out like who are these others that I haven't talked to, and how do I do that, and people that I can actually connect with, as opposed to people that I have no idea who they are.
Great. So that would be a very simple strategy. So
Right.
maybe you take
I have control over
5
that.
of those people a day, or
Right.
10 of those people a day, and you just touch them. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you observe something from their social media or from whatever that you think is cool, right? Hey, you just got back from Panama City. We're thinking about going down to Panama City next summer. What's your favorite restaurant? Hey, which complex did you stay at? Right? Did you use VRBO? Do you guys own something down there? Do you have a friend that owns something down there? Just ask questions, and they'll start telling you stuff that you can use to further develop the relationship.
Mhm.
Any other people that heard something yesterday that was super impactful? Because by the way, whatever you share is most likely a tip of a top producer. So don't think that we're off subject here, okay? Anyone else? Okay. For those that are in bold, I applaud you. This is a big commitment. I understand it's a big financial commitment. Candace and I believe in it, and we are willing to financially support it as well. For those that have not heard this, I'll make sure this is perfectly clear. If you register for bold and participate, I don't really care when you register for it. We're not going to be sticklers like that. If you participate in bold, your first and second transactions will be $200 from the Market Center, and your third and fourth $200 from Candace and I. Cool. Y'all, by the way, y'all like Mike Mulder? He's an awesome dude, isn't he? He's the team leader at Chet North.
Powerful.
Love that guy. Wasn't that pretty powerful what he said at the end? He said, if you go do bold and you give it 100%, right? You really play all in, and you don't have the results, or you don't feel like it was worthwhile, I will personally pay you back for it. Half the people in the room, he doesn't even know. You see what I'm saying? I think that's super powerful. Super powerful. Okay, I'm gonna let Candace start. Candace was the one that suggested this topic, so I want to hear certainly your some of the important concepts that were on your mind, and I have a few things I'd like to share too. So Candace, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I take all the time, I take journeys back to when I was new and what I wanted to know. And I wanted to know what top agents did, what they would share that made them top agents, what differentiated them from agents that are just struggling or just barely making it, or just making a medium. I wanted to know what the best of the best, well, let me not say the best of the best like that, but the top performers were doing. And surprisingly, there aren't really any true secrets, but I'll go over what they are. Bill and I will talk about the details of those. We'd love interaction if you have ideas or comments on it as well, because this is a place where we can mastermind. And when you're thinking and showing up and engaging, you're creating strategies in your mind, and that's becoming resourceful as a real estate agent. And that's the very first tip, is to become resourceful. If you don't know how to do something, there are so many places to get answers. You can go up to a top producer and say, how do you do this? You can ask Bill or me, and we both top producers. You can Google it. Like I always say, Google is my brain. I am not shy about saying that. It's kind of like doing for those of you who remember Star Trek, and oh, by the way, William Shatner went up in space, the oldest person to go up in space at 90 years old. But for those of you who grew up with Star Trek, the Vulcan mind meld, where Spock got to put his hand on someone's shoulder and know everything that was in their mind. Well, Google is kind of like that. We can know anything from anything. So becoming resourceful is the very first key. If you're sitting, and I say this all the time, those of you who are in one-on-ones with me know that I say, if you're sitting in a dark corner in your house and the computer's not on and you're thinking, I don't know what to do, or I am not succeeding at this, well, do some Googling or call Bill or me, one or the other, or call one of the other people in the office. I mean, you don't have to stay in that place and wonder. There's so many people here who want to help you. And very first thing I do, and I noticed that Lori or Tammy yesterday, I thought, oh, she did some Googling to put together her presentation, because I know that some of that was from content that she got on the internet. So it's out there. Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, don't forget that these two WhatsApp groups and your agent mentors, right? And your script practice partners or Facebook groups, right? We have access to just so much stuff, right? If you were saying to yourself, hey, I'm not sure how to put together, for example, a buyer presentation. Like literally, you could YouTube buyer presentation, realtor, buyer presentation, real estate, buyer presentation, Keller Williams. You can see 50 different types of buyer presentations and say, hey, I don't really like that one. Yeah, I like that part of that one. I love that one. Ooh, I like how they said that in that situation, right? And you're just compiling all of these kind of best practices and information to help you create your version of it, so to speak, right? The way I used to handle listings and the way Candace used to handle listings probably got some difference to it, right? And either one is fine. We both help plenty of sellers, right? It's just a matter of whatever we chose was well researched and well practiced and well refined, and that became our method, right?
Yep.
Can I piggyback on that one, Bill and Candace?
Yeah,
I
please.
mean, it's big. It's just what you said. When you find yourself in that mode where what do I do? I've made my calls, and it's within that time frame. Do I make more calls, or just make yourself more learning based? Just like Bill tapped into. I mean, the YouTubes and things of that nature, and that's what I've what I've incorporated into my plan as well. Because Bill, you tapped into that on one of your videos that I saw. Where you really want to focus, just get an hour of your business, learning your business, mastering something in your business. And I heard something the other day where it was focus, following one course until successful.
Oh, I like that.
So when you follow that one course until you're
that's
successful, if it's mastering, DocuSign or mastering, the buyer presentation, just think of how much knowledge that you can have that you can share with somebody in our group, or maybe not even in the group, a new associate that comes on board. You can now play the role of a mentor. And I think that's, I gotta get that word out of my mouth. That is where I am focused on, just, making myself more learning based to master specific areas of this business to become the best I can be.
Yeah, I tell you, there was probably two things that I kind of got a reputation for, if you will, since I came to KW, and both of which have catapulted various opportunities for me. The first one was rentals, and I didn't like wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be the rental guy, right? Or I want to be the resource for all real estate, rental questions, right? It was just a natural byproduct of kind of my daily activities and what was going on in the market. And all of a sudden I got a lot of experience working with rentals, right? So I was, 10 years ago, I was teaching classes about rentals, right? I was getting calls from random agents in the office. Hey, I hear you do a lot of rentals. Can you give me some advice on this? And that was kind of one of the things that allowed me to build my exposure, right? And that also connected me in some ways with other agents in the market center who didn't know me or thought I was young or, didn't think I was good or any of that kind of stuff. So it was, interestingly enough, even though it was not something like I went out and strived for, it was something that helped me with my confidence, right? Which is really all this is all about, right? I mean, literally, I could probably call people in my database and be like, hey, do you know 2 + 2 is 5? And they're like, gosh, I thought my whole life it was 4, but if Bill says it's 5, it's probably 5. Right. And it helped me build my confidence, and it gave me credibility and validity. The other thing that I probably got well known for and kind of still is profit share, right? So I'm teaching classes across the city. I've been invited to Zooms from, offices all around the country to speak about this stuff. And do you think that's beneficial for my life? I've gotten referrals from that. I've built friendships from that. I've created financial opportunities because of that. So, don't be afraid to really get really, really good at something, because it's probably going to catapult you to the next opportunity, right? Maybe, you're awesome when it comes to Section 8 vouchers, or you're awesome when it comes to lease purchases, or you're the go-to agent when you're trying to get the condo market or whatever, right? Don't be afraid of getting really, really good at something. But intentionality is where the rubber meets the road. Anthony, I mean, it's very possible that you could say, hey, by the end of this week, there's going to be no one that understands designs better than me.
Right.
right? And then, you know, a month from now, people will see a couple of the things that you designed and say, hey, Anthony, would you teach a class for us about designs? And then somebody will say, oh my gosh, that was the best class I've ever seen. They posted in GLG. And then Mike calls you and say, hey, could you come and teach that class at our market center?
Correct.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It can, I mean, that can happen so quickly. Candace, did you want to add
I
something?
was just going to say, and Tammy was talking about yesterday about about snorkeling on the surface. And so if you read 30 or if you learn 30 minutes a day on a particular subject, by the end of the year, you'll probably know more about that subject than just about anybody. You'll be an expert in that subject, and it won't take a whole year either. But
Yeah, and by the end of the week, you'll probably know more than 98% of your real estate competition.
exactly. But that just means don't be like skimming the surface of whatever it is you're learning. Go deep, learn the nuances, make sure you understand the nuances, because real estate is all about nuances. And I want to applaud that, Anthony. I thank you, because I love that focus acronym. That's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
I also want to applaud some other people in here that are resourceful. Who here has a role play script practice partner? I guess we're going to call it conversation practice partner.
Yeah, conversation.
Yep, I see hands raising. That's resourceful.
Yep.
That's resourceful. Reaching out in the PC WhatsApp help for questions that you have, that's resourceful. So I want to applaud all those activities that you're doing and all those ways that you're being resourceful. Ebony, do you have a question? Your hand's raised. Or are you
She's
just saying
raising
script?
her hand
No.
because she has a script partner.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Good job, guys. So Bill kind of dived into the next one. It's actually down the list, but we'll go into it next. And that's to have a niche. You can't be the real estate agent for everyone everywhere. And that's part of this focus that Anthony just brought up, following one course until successful. Bill was the master at rentals. There are those of you who are identifying niches for first-time home buyers, for luxury. So we've talked about niches before, and we can have that class again, but find where your passion is and where you can contribute and where you want to spend your time and focus on that.
Right.
Are
And
you-
niches, but could even be as simple as saying the different mechanisms of lead generation that you pursue. Right. Let's say, for example, hey, open houses aren't for me. Sunday mornings is for my kids and they go to church, and it just, I don't want to do open houses. Fine. You don't have to, but you better pick something else that's going to create opportunities coming your way. So just decide right off the bat what lead generation strategies you'd like to experiment with, and go give it an honest try. Don't go call 17 FSBOs one afternoon, get yelled at a bunch, and then say, I don't do FSBOs. Right? Give it an honest, probably month, 2 months, 3 months before you say, hey, I'm just not feeling this. Make sense?
I mean, you can drill down your niches to the point where you're like, I work with doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drill down your niche. You can become a specialist at what their needs are. You can drill down your niche to, I work with probate. And that doesn't mean that's the only thing you work with, but that's where your expertise and your focus is.
Right. You could
work
be
with-
like horse farms,
Yes,
or lake properties, or
exactly.
I help people find Airbnbs, or,
Yep.
I'm going to caution you to, this is a tight market, right? So I was, truthfully, I never really intentionally went out to create a niche. I feel like there was a time, maybe like 20, 25 years ago, where there seemed to be like neighborhood experts and that was kind of their niche. But nowadays, I don't see that so much anymore. And so I don't want you to get so laser focused on being like the horse farm lady that your neighbor doesn't think that you do regular houses or something. So just have that kind of in the back of your mind, right?
Although you could be the North Atlanta, your niche could be North Atlanta, your niche could be the 400 corridor. You don't have to be so drilled down that you don't where people do think of you only in one way. So anyway, but creating a niche, that's some of the tips that top realtors do. Treat your business like a business, not a hobby. Those who have created great success run their business like a business. They get up, they get dressed, they show up, They don't work on their, I mean, I guess at a certain point they can work on their couch, but they don't work on their couch in their, you know, they get up and they get dressed. And they show up for work.
Yeah.
And they have a specific schedule. It's